everyone, it's Mary. I hope you're all doing fine, all things considered. I did post like 2 videos that were filmed previously, prior to the whole, outbreak that is happening right now all over the world. Actually, we were one of the early countries to get into this sort of mess. Me living in Italy, of course. We are like the second most affected region in Italy, so it's been pretty tough and it's been pretty scary. Things, are very uncertain. I feel very lucky because I don't personally know anyone affected by the virus, but of course we're not working. Me and my husband are home. The schools have been closed for, I've lost my count, from the last, like from the 23rd of February. So my son, he is in kindergarten and he's home. Basically, he's been home for since then, and we've been on complete lockdown for 2 weeks now, in which we can't go out, but just to purchase like food and medicine and maybe for health reason. We don't have a garden, but we have my mother-in-law living basically a step away from us, and my husband has his vegetable garden over there, and he is allowed to tend to his garden and brings Leo with him so that he can stay outside at least and breathe some fresh air, because otherwise I don't know if we would cope that well. Me personally, I don't mind staying home, never did, and nothing really has changed that much. I'm not very socially active, although I do have friends. I really enjoy my time indoors, but of course being home with a toddler the whole day, it's not the same. I mean, I feel like I hear a lot of people saying, well, now you can read all the books and film all the videos and watch all the films, and it's not really like that. I can't do any of those things. Actually, I feel like I have less time to do these things than before, but trying to get the best of the situation and actually be with my son a lot more, which is, good, not only because of course he wants to stay with me and I want to stay with him, but also because I'm trying to raise him as a bilingual, and me being the source of English for him, I can see that he's making more, he's making more progress with me home all the time. Otherwise he would hear more Italian than English, of course, being out and in kindergarten and with his grandparents and such. So yeah, I'm just trying to focus on the good things, because the first couple of weeks or so that we were in this mess, I was a little bit anxious, and I was just feeling very depressed for the whole thing, if that's the right word, very down, especially because even, health-wise, of course, but also economically-wise, we don't know how we're gonna end up, basically. I'm not working at the moment. I've been smart working for a while, but then it all closed down, basically. So my husband is not working at the moment. He had just changed his job, hoping that he can start. He actually needs to start in the new place in April, like the end of April. We are in April. Well, at the end of this month, and I hope that everything goes smoothly. We'll see how it goes. We'll just hope for the best. So this is just my take on the whole thing. I don't want to spend too much time talking about it, just because you know what's going on. It's been painful just to watch all the countries get to the same stage as we were, hoping that they would take measures sooner rather than later, and yeah. But other than that, let's talk about books, because that's what I'm here for. I haven't been reading much in March, because what happens is that when I'm experiencing a stressful situation and I'm anxious, I just cannot concentrate on books, which is a pity because I have so many books to read, of course. And yeah, so I've managed to finish three books, and I'm gonna talk about a book that I finished yesterday, which was the 3rd of April, but still I've been reading the book for the entirety of March, and since I just finished it, I just want to talk to you guys about it. Yeah, so let's get on with the books. The first one I'm gonna talk about is Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan, and I'm very glad that I picked this book up because it's a real escape from the whole situation. It's fun, it's very quick to read, even though it's a bit, chunky, and I luckily managed to get the other 2 books in the sort of series. There are 3 books, and before everything happened. 1, I'm trying to limit my online purchases, but 2, the main website in which I purchased books is not delivering to Italy presently, so yeah, I don't know. I have also another book haul to film, so I have saved my non-fiction books for another video, luckily, because I don't know when I'm gonna have new books to talk about. But it's not a problem because, let's take this as an input to just read all the books that I own that I actually haven't read yet. But yeah, Crazy Rich Asians, as I heard someone else mention, like a bag of chips. Like, not necessarily the best thing out there, but very tasty nonetheless. And it's not badly written at all, I don't think. It was actually, I didn't mind the writing style. It flowed very nicely, and I could envision while reading a movie, actually. That's what I did. When I finished it, I watched the movie, and it was, I love the movie as well. Rachel she is Chinese American, and her boyfriend, who's called Nicholas. Okay, Nick. And Nick is from Singapore. They've been together for 2 years, and he asks her to, spend the summer in Asia and just meet the family, because he has to attend a wedding in which he's the best man. So he asks her to join him. She's a bit hesitant in the beginning. She thinks there might be something else. Maybe he's gonna propose to her, and it's just a big commitment to go and meet the family, especially because he never really talks about his family that much. But she agrees, and they actually travel to Singapore, and then she realizes that he is incredibly rich, and she had no clue about that, and she needs to cope with all the situation, considering she's not really prepared for it. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this one, and I cannot wait to get to the second one, which I'm gonna do very soon. Next up, another very quick and fluffy read, as I always say. It was Heartstopper Vol.III by Oseman. Again, it turned into sort of a comfort read for me. It's just the story of 2 boys falling in love in high school, how they cope with the situation, with their feelings. And there are a lot of themes discussed. I think the themes were handled very gracefully. Not only sexuality, but also self-harm and depression. And it's just, these are heavy themes, but it's just very light as a read, and not in a bad way. And I like the art style, although it's very simple. I do prefer quite more detailed illustrations, but yeah, this is a joy to read, and I just cannot wait to read the 4th one, which I think it's gonna come out at some point, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so I really enjoyed this one. Next up, I finished an audiobook that I had started before the whole coronavirus thing happened, and I think it's sort of relevant to it somehow. It was Being Mortal by Atul Gawande. I hope I pronounced his name correctly. He's a surgeon, and this book is not about any pandemic of any sort, but it's about aging and dying, and it gives you a different perspective on the whole thing. Getting old and dying is not something that young or even middle-aged people think a lot about, but actually the human body is not wired to last that long. Like, we feel like the norm is to try and live as long as possible and possibly die like after you're 90 and your life was well spent and you basically wish to die of old age. Generally, of course, I'm not getting into detail, but actually that's not the norm, although we're very used to it with, you know, medicine and just the progresses that we made as a society. But actually, the human body is wired to last not that long. Like, the norm would be to die of some sort of accident, basically, when you're even young, and it's not like, we feel like it's a tragedy, but actually it's very normal. And it's, you know, it's a different perspective because it talks about how you are aging basically as soon as, I think when you're 30, you're already aging. You're already like not spent, but almost. And it was like sort of unsettling to think about, but also very eye-opening. The author talks about his personal experience as a doctor, and he also talks about like, medical facts. And yeah, it was like one thing particularly that I was thinking about was hair, and how the pigment for the color of the hair just finishes at some point, which means you're done. I mean, you're done. Your hair is not supposed to grow or supposed to be there any longer than it is, because you see it's turning gray and then white. Like the pigment is dead. I don't know, that thing just stuck in my brain. But anyway, I think this book was weirdly relevant in the sense that in the end, age doesn't really matter, but it's perspective that counts. And this happens even when you have like some sort of illness and you're young. But in the end, the same things seem to matter to people that are facing death, basically. Even if you're, you know, whether you're young or old, what you really care about, the people you really care about, how you want to have an impact maybe on the world, and how you find you can be useful to it. It's all a matter of perspective, and I just think it was a very great book. And I do wish I had read it in some other moment, not because of my concentration not being quite there, especially towards the end. And I feel like I did miss something, although of course I got the main thing, because 80% of the book I was completely like 100% there, and then the last 10% I was a bit all over the place with my mind and thoughts. So I plan definitely to pick this book back up in a written form and actually reread it, because it was just so good. But yeah, I highly recommend this one, and I really enjoyed reading it. Last book I'm gonna mention, I actually finished yesterday, so it was the 3rd of April, but I still want to include this in this sort of wrap up because I have been reading this book for the entirety of March, and also I have this fresh in my head, having just finished it. And it was To the Bright Edge of the World by Eowyn Ivey. This is my first book by her, although I have heard about The Snow Child. I'm not really sure I want to read The Snow Child. I did not particularly enjoy this book. It was not bad, but it wasn't even that good. And I had high expectations on this one. I thought it was gonna be amazing, but it was not. I read this book with my sister. We sort of buddy read this book. She was better than me in the sense that she finished it like, I think almost a month ago. But yeah, she shared my same thoughts, so it was nice to actually discuss the book with her. This talks about this expedition in the Alaskan wilderness of Colonel Alan Forster, I think it's his name. He leaves his wife at home, and she's newly pregnant, and they both sort of have their own storyline. The book is told this sort of mixed media sort of narrative, because it has letters between the two of them, and you have Sophie. She's the the wife. You have Sophie's diary entries and Alan's journal, but also you've got some other sort of bits and pieces, articles, and then letters between these two, like this great grandson of the colonel, talking in like contemporary times, because this is set in the 19th century. So this Holt, that's his name, is writing letters to this museum curator in Alaska, who's he's a young man, well, in his 30s, and they talk back and forth about the colonel and his wife's adventure, because Walt is interested in having all these letters and diaries in a museum. So that's why he talks to Josh. That's the name of the museum curator. So you have a lot of different sort of bits and pieces, which I don't think worked that well. I mean, it eased the narration because it was very quick to get through, and you also have like some pictures. I just wanted to show you, some pictures and different sort of like the article sort of style. I don't know, it was very quick to read, but I felt like I didn't really care about any of the characters, and also I didn't really like the tone of the letters between the two contemporary characters, because I felt like it was very, not really patronizing, but very sort of trying to educate you on what's right, in terms of talks of sexuality and also sort of cultural appropriation, which, yeah, I just felt like it was a bit in your face, not very subtle and not very particularly enjoyable to read. I don't know. So yes, this one. And on to what I'm currently reading. I have been reading the same books for months, but I just wanted to mention them just to keep you updated. I'm still reading, where is it? I just want to briefly mention this because, God, I'm still reading the Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien. We were supposed to buddy read this one. We're not. It's very dense. I don't feel like this is the right time to be reading this one for me. But yeah, I'll see. This book really is a book that you can actually dip in and out of at whatever moment. It's like the Bible, basically. So I feel like it's gonna be on my currently reading list for a long time. As is the last Outlander book, which is written in my own heart's blood by Gabaldon. And yeah, I've been reading this book since forever. It's very, like, once I get into it and start reading, it's very quick, but I don't know. I don't want to be reading this, only this one, so I'm like reading a chunk and then reading other books, and that's why I did not finish it yet. And yeah, I plan to finish this soon, but I don't want to say that because I always say that and then I don't. So that one. And then I have How Children Learn by Joan Holt, which I'm enjoying very much. It's a non-fiction book about education and about, as it says, how children learn. He's against the schooling system, which is something that I agree a lot on, but unfortunately I cannot homeschool my child, so I just can read this book and cry and nothing else, basically. No, it does not talk only about school. It just focuses on how children are born with this innate willingness to learn everything that's around them, and how basically we kill this spirit by teaching them something. Something that he said that I really agree on is that if we taught children how to speak, they would never do it, not the way in which they do that naturally anyway. So yeah, it's a very interesting one. It's an oldie but a goodie, so enjoying this one. And then I plan to start reading finally I'm gonna read My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante, which I'm just gonna show you this, even though it's of course the original Italian version. I've been debating with myself because I really want to read this one, but I am afraid I'm gonna be hyper critical towards it because she's Italian, I am Italian, and this is basically the first Italian novel, like contemporary Italian novel, that it has been so well loved all over the world. So expectations couldn't be higher than that. And I really hope that I'm gonna like it, and I don't want to be too harsh with it. That's why I waited, because I didn't want to read it when everybody else was reading it and the hype was even, higher. I just wanted the excitement to wane a little bit, and I saw that Natalie, or a curious reader, she was gonna read this book in April, and I just butt in. Basically, we decided to read this together, so that's what we're gonna do, another buddy read for us, and I'm excited to actually start this one and see what I think of it. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed my video, and please talk to me in the comments about the books that I mentioned, if you read any of these books, and yeah, I'll see you in my next video. Bye!